is essentially you're doing your job, and then you're finding that at the edge of your job, things are falling down a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so you go, well, then I guess I need to extend my job a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then you get to that new edge of the job, and things are falling down. It's, well, then we need to do something about that. And so that you just keep expanding your own job description and solving more problems as you go along.
Well, the answers are all there. I mean, it's so easy.
You just got to start digging.
Just got to do it. Yeah. And usually, what I've found is an idea has legs. Mm-hmm. In other words, once you have it, the energy's there. Sure. And it makes total sense, and it falls all in place.
And then some ideas don't, where it's just right, where they just don't get any traction.
Well, if the idea is right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, sometimes it's not the right idea, so it doesn't have legs. Yeah.
A right idea carries itself.
Yeah, I got you.
It just goes on and on.
So you don't have to force it.
No.
You give it a nudge, and then it's got something. Okay.
Wings is a middle school, mm-hmm. So 6th, 7th, and 8th grade for students who could be successful if they just had that 3 years of incubation. Mm-hmm. And so what it does is change not necessarily the content of the instruction, but the way it's delivered. Mm-hmm. And so it's a small school mm-hmm. with small classrooms. Mm-hmm. No class changes except for 2. Mm-hmm. So and lockers that are close mm-hmm. to all the rooms, so they don't have to organize that. Instruction is project based, mm-hmm. not through, you don't do your learning through reading and writing. Mm-hmm. So there isn't homework mm-hmm. because you learn through the projects. Mm-hmm. And then there is direct instruction in the organizational techniques that we know will make them successful once they hit 9th grade. Mm-hmm. So we teach them how to do those
and then
things.
Getting them habituated a little bit too.
Yeah, so that they're ready to do that when they get 9th grade. Mm-hmm. And then there is a large focus on remedial instruction in reading and writing, so that many kids can read and write, but they don't do it with automaticity. In other words, it's not fast for them.
Right.
So, yes, they can read the 3 chapters that they get assigned, but it takes them all night. Mm-hmm. Or yes, they can take a test, and an essay test, but they never can finish because it takes them too long.
Right. And then they don't retain as much either.
Mm-hmm. So, speed and automaticity mm-hmm. is something we try to build in as mm-hmm. well. Mm-hmm. So that the kids who come to the school, the goal is that they will leave there and be successful in 9th grade.
So you're taking struggling 6th graders mm-hmm. and helping to move them to be competent 9th graders.
Yeah, give them a little time for incubation that they need that other kids may not.
Sure.
Yeah, and some of the kids have moved out already. Mm-hmm. I mean, they just needed a year there.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I learned in my time with the Learning Center is the importance of persistence and the importance of being okay with having something be hard for you. Especially when I was watching the kids with reading and writing problems. You know, other kids do it very automatically. Mm-hmm. So even some of our very brightest kids mm-hmm. would avoid trying because they didn't want to fail. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to start because, God forbid, they should look stupid or they mm-hmm. should look like they can't do. Mm-hmm. And there would be that group of kids. And then there was a group of kids who would just start and they just keep working at it. Mm-hmm. And they just keep working at it. Mm-hmm. And it didn't matter to them that they weren't doing well. Mm-hmm. They knew that if they kept at it, eventually they would. And the research shows, what's just fascinating to me, when I went to conferences, they were trying to figure out what made some people with learning disabilities successful and others not.
Being stubborn.
and they looked at their IQ, mm-hmm. they looked at the severity of their learning disability, they looked at the homes that they came from, they looked at the schools that they went to, they looked at the teachers they had, mm-hmm. and they could not find one consistent thing that made a difference between mm-hmm. one student with a learning disability and the other, with the exception of persistence. Yeah. That was the only thing that made a difference. So You could have a severe learning disability, a regular IQ, and be much more successful than someone with a high IQ who wasn't willing.
Wasn't willing to dig in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jay Leno has a severe learning disability.
Okay.
And he tells the story that when he first interviewed for the Tonight Show, he didn't make it.
Right.
You know,
a lot of for what it's worth, because I've done a little bit of stand up, and I did the stand up past Stan and Rona, and I've read quite a few biographies, and that is an incredibly difficult way to make a living. That if you see Jay Leno or David Letterman or Bill Cosby or any of these folks who are at the very highest level of that, every one of them is a warrior of sorts. If you look at the nature of the job, it's you're by yourself most of the time, trying to tell jokes to a bunch of drunks who don't want to hear them every night. Maybe it was funny, maybe it wasn't, I don't know, over and over and over and over again. And then they reach a certain level where, the guy from the Johnny Carson show is going to come see you, right? Nobody gets picked the first time that guy comes. That guy will usually come see you 3 or 4 or 5 times to watch you develop and watch you develop. And you're talking about grown people who've been doing this professionally for 10 or 12 years. And this guy's like, no, you're not there yet. and so it's, and all by yourself. You're up there. It's just you and the mic in front of all these. It's tough people who make a living doing that.
Well, and that's what he said. He said other people might have, melted under that.
Sure.
I failed. But he said, when my mom found out I had a learning disability, she said, son, you'll just have to try harder.
Yeah.
So
that's the magic. Yeah.
He just kept going back.